My friends, I need you to understand something that will shake the very foundation of everything you've been taught about money. Poverty is not what you think it is. It's not a bank balance. It's not a paycheck. It's not the bills on your table or the debt hanging over your head. Poverty is a position of mind, and the exact moment you change that position, everything changes. Not tomorrow. Not after you get the money. Not after circumstances improve. Right now. Let me ask you something that may disturb you. What if the end of your financial struggle is not 5 years away? Not next year? Not even 6 months away? What if it's a single decision away? What if the only thing keeping you trapped in lack is a belief you never questioned, a thought pattern you inherited, an identity you accepted without realizing it was a choice? Most people spend their entire lives fighting poverty with effort. They work harder. They hustle more. They sacrifice sleep, health, and peace, and yet they remain exactly where they started. Why? Because they're fighting the wrong battle. They're trying to fix the outside while ignoring the inside. They're rearranging furniture in a burning house. They're polishing chains while calling them freedom. Listen carefully. You cannot end poverty while thinking from poverty. You cannot rise while believing you are trapped. You cannot attract wealth while identifying as someone who struggles. You cannot become abundant while operating from scarcity. Every decision you make from fear strengthens poverty's grip. Every time you say, "I can't afford it," you instruct your subconscious to expect shortage. Every time you delay a dream because you don't have enough, you plant seeds of lack. And those seeds, they grow. Picture this. It's early morning. You're sitting at your kitchen table, staring at bills you can't pay. Rent is due, the phone's been ringing with creditors, your stomach is tight with anxiety, and in that moment you whisper, "I don't know how I'll make it." That sentence alone seals your fate. It trains your mind to search for problems instead of solutions. It builds walls around your imagination. It turns you into a victim of circumstance instead of a creator of destiny. But imagine just for a moment that you issued a different command, not hope, not vague optimism, but a definite internal decree. I refuse to think from lack. From this moment forward, I think only from abundance, from opportunity, from power. In that instant, everything shifts. Your mind stops looking for reasons why you can't and starts finding ways that you can. Ideas you ignored suddenly reappear. People willing to help seem to show up out of nowhere. A direction forms not because of luck, but because you changed the world within you. Let me give you a truth that most will never hear. Poverty is a crouching before life. It's a bowing of the spirit. It's an inward confession that circumstances are stronger than you are. And the moment you reject that position violently, completely, without compromise, poverty begins to wither. It has no choice. Because poverty is not a condition imposed upon you by the world. It's a lens through which you see the world. And once you change the lens, the world itself transforms. I've studied the wealthiest men and women in history: Andrew Carnegie, Henry Ford, John D. Rockefeller, Madam C.J. Walker. Every single one of them understood this principle. The mind that thinks from abundance commands abundance. The mind that thinks from lack repels it. This is not motivation. This is law, as exact as gravity, as consistent as sunrise. A law that the wealthy obey instinctively and the poor violate unknowingly. Let me tell you about a young man who arrived one morning at the laboratory of Thomas Edison. His clothes were worn, his pockets were empty, he had nothing, no money, no connections, no guarantees. But he had something far more valuable, an unshakable position of mind. He didn't come begging for a job. He came declaring partnership. He told Edison that he had come to work with him, not for him. Edison, amused by this audacity, gave him the most humble work imaginable, sweeping floors, and the young man swept those floors as if he were already a millionaire. He carried himself with dignity. He spoke with certainty. He acted from abundance even while living in lack. That young man was Edwin C. Barnes. For 5 years, he held one unshakable belief that he was destined to be Edison's business partner. And because his inner position never wavered, the outer world had no choice but to align. One day, when Edison needed someone to market a new invention, he chose Barnes, not because Barnes asked, not because Barnes begged, but because Edison saw something in his eyes, a certainty, a knowing, and from that moment, Barnes' fortune was made, not with wages, not with luck, but with mental posture. Listen carefully to how you speak, because your words reveal your position. I can't afford it. Maybe later when I have more, I wish I could, but every one of these sentences is a confession, a surrender, a declaration to the universe that you are servant, not sovereign. Replace them. I will find a way. There is always more. I act from plenty. Speech is creative force. It builds the mental climate in which your life must grow. If your words are soaked in limitation, your results cannot escape it. Speak from abundance until your subconscious accepts the tone as natural. Then watch as your environment begins to echo your command. Because here's what most people don't understand. Your subconscious mind doesn't know the difference between what's real and what's imagined. It only knows what you tell it, and it believes every word. So if you constantly tell it you're broke, struggling, trapped, it will arrange your life to prove you right. But if you tell it you're abundant, rising, unstoppable, it will find evidence for that instead. Andrew Carnegie started as a poor immigrant boy working in a cotton mill for $1.20 a week, but he didn't think like a poor boy. He thought like a custodian of wealth. He imagined himself not as someone trying to get rich, but as someone destined to distribute prosperity. And because his inner position never wavered, money came to him to be managed. Henry Ford was a farmer's son with no formal education, but he didn't think like a farmer's son. He thought like an industrialist. He saw himself creating value for millions, and millions responded. Madam C.J. Walker was born to former slaves, orphaned at 7, married at 14, widowed at 20. By every measure, she should have stayed in poverty, but she refused the position of lack. She stood in the position of power, and she became America's first self-made female millionaire, not by waiting for circumstances to change, but by changing her position of thought first. Now let me teach you something that will change how you see money forever. All of life is exchange. Every breath proves it. You inhale, you must exhale, otherwise the very breath that sustains you becomes the breath that suffocates you. The same law governs wealth. Poverty is not the absence of money. It's the refusal or ignorance of this rhythm. Those who hoard, who fear, who close their hands and hearts, choke the current through which supply moves. The tides advance and retreat. Day gives to night. The earth gives seed, receives harvest, and gives again. There is no accumulation without circulation. So the man who attempts to gather without giving, he violates law, and law quietly corrects him through loss. Here's what separates the wealthy from the poor. The wealthy give first, not money. They give thought, imagination, service, faith, and then fortune returns the favor. The poor man reverses the order. He waits to receive before he gives, and thus he receives nothing. His mind repeats, when I have more, I will give more. And life answers, when you give more, you will have more. Henry Ford didn't wait until he was rich to add value. As a young mechanic, he improved every process he touched, not because he was paid to, but because he desired excellence. That excess value, what I call the overflow, became his fortune's foundation. Every improvement he made enriched those around him, and the current returned to him multiplied. That's how circulation works. The river that flows stays clear. The pool that stagnates grows foul. So even when you have little, give. Give thought. Give encouragement. Give ideas. Give courtesy. Give more than expected. This declares faith in the abundance of law, and law responds with supply. So how do you actually do this? How do you think from abundance when your bank account says otherwise? Step 1. Reject the identity of lack. Stop calling yourself broke. Stop identifying as someone struggling. Stop introducing yourself as someone trying to make it. You are not trying. You are becoming. Step 2. Change your internal language. Monitor every thought, every word, every statement about money. When you catch yourself thinking from scarcity, interrupt it immediately. Replace I can't afford this with how can I afford this? Replace I don't have enough with more is coming. Replace I'm stuck with I'm rising. Step 3. Act from the position you claim. If you claim to be abundant, act abundant, not recklessly, but confidently. Walk differently, speak differently. Carry yourself with the dignity of someone who knows their value. Because here's the secret. People respond to your energy before they respond to your circumstances. If you walk into a room apologizing for your presence, that's how you'll be treated. But if you walk in as someone of value, doors open. Step 4. Give before you receive. Find ways to add value today, right now, with what you have. Help someone solve a problem. Share an idea. Offer encouragement. Do work that exceeds expectation. When you give from the little you have, you signal to the universe that you trust in more, and more comes. Step 5. Cultivate gratitude as law. Every morning, before your feet hit the floor, say this: I am grateful for the abundance that is mine. I am grateful for the opportunities that are coming. I am grateful for the wealth that flows through me. Not because it's true yet in the physical world, but because gratitude is the frequency of abundance. And when you operate on that frequency, abundance finds you. But let me also issue a warning. If you hear these words casually, nothing will happen. If you nod in agreement, but continue thinking from fear, you will remain exactly where you are. This principle works instantly, but only for the person who applies it instantly, not tomorrow, not after things get better, now. Because poverty has no power except what you give it through agreement. The moment you withdraw your agreement, the moment you refuse to think from lack, poverty collapses. It must. It's law. So let me ask you one final question, and your answer will determine the rest of your life. Are you willing in this moment to stop thinking as someone who is lacking and begin thinking as someone who is rising? The answer cannot be halfway. Half belief keeps you stuck. Whole belief opens the door. You say you want to end lack, then end the thought that creates it. End the identity that maintains it. End the habit of entertaining fear as if it were truth. Poverty's roots live in the mind. Pull them out, and they cannot grow back unless you plant them again. My friends, you stand at a crossroads. One path leads back to the familiar, the worry, the scarcity, the endless struggle. It's crowded on that path. Millions walk it every day, wondering why nothing changes. The other path? It's the path of those who dared to think differently, who refused to accept poverty as permanent, who changed their position of mind and watched their world transform. That path is wide open, and it's waiting for you. 30 days from now or 30 minutes from now, you could be living from a completely different position, not because your circumstances changed, but because you changed. And when you change, everything else must follow. It's law. Say this with me now. Say it out loud. Say it with conviction. I refuse to think from lack. I think only from abundance. I am not a victim of circumstance. I am a creator of destiny. Poverty has no claim on me because I withdraw my agreement with it. From this moment forward, I stand in the position of power, of plenty, of purpose, and my world will obey. There it is. The switch has been flipped. Now, my friend, walk out of poverty. Not someday, today. Not when things get better. Now. Because you are not waiting for abundance to find you. You are abundance, and poverty cannot survive in the presence of that truth. Now go. Your new life is waiting.